In this video, I'm going to show you how to hit every Aries chain or close to it. I'll be going over 5 tips that'll change the way you use Aries chains. The first is pacing your chains. I see a lot of players ready to jump the gun after they hit the first chain, and they'll rapid fire the next two. This is actually really bad for a couple reasons. For one, whenever I rapid fire my chains, I usually find myself missing more than if I were to just space them out. But the big reasons are that they'll do less damage and CC for a shorter duration. This is because whenever you chain a target and then chain them again, instead of stacking, the new chain replaces the old one. Meaning if you were to fire a chain then fire a new one on the same target super quickly, you'll lose that extra tick or two of damage from the previous chain, and you'll lose the extra second or so of cripple time. Spacing also gives you more time to chain multiple targets. Remember, you have 2 seconds between each chain to fire them, so make sure you use that time. Now, to help with pacing, we'll go to tip number 2, which is creating a rhythm while you chain. I have to do this by autoing between each chain even if I'm not in range. You want to create a rhythm while you're chaining, and to help set that pace, autoing in between chains is a great way to do it. Now, I don't always do this, but I do it most of the time, and besides, you should be getting into the habit of autoing between chains anyways to inflict the most damage to your opponent, since his chains are great AA cancels. My third tip is more of a hey, try this out because it may or may not work for you kind of tip, but the tip is to aim your cursor downwards more. For some reason, I find I have more control over my aim if my cursor is closer to my character. I find I can micro adjust a lot easier, and it actually really helps me out. Whenever I'm having a bad game or just missing a lot in the moment, I'll often start centering my camera down more, and it'll give me at the very least the perception of more control, and I'll hit more abilities overall, not just chains. My fourth tip is casting type. This one's a bit more obvious, but very important nonetheless. For most abilities I use instacast, but for Aries chains I actually use normal cast. For me, it feels easier to line them up, and it also goes with the rhythm that I mentioned earlier. Now, everyone is different, and I suggest you try out multiple casting types if you haven't done so already, but this should be very useful if you find yourself missing a lot of chains. My last tip is using items and relics to your advantage. Blink is very useful for closing the gap and pretty much ensuring you hit the first chain. Another relic that goes very well is Sprout. This will root everyone around you for a second, pretty much also guaranteeing you get the chain on them. Now, one item that I think is actually very good on Aries currently is Gem of Isolation. The slow stack with its chains very well, and funny enough, it actually helps you to hit your follow-up chain since the target is severely slowed. I actually go Gem of Iso every single game on Aries now because of how good it is on it. However, it's not good to rely on these items or relics to hit your chains, but they're very good at enabling you to open up a fight, pretty much ensuring that you hit your initial chains and start out the fight right. Those are going to be my 5 major tips for mastering Aries chains. If you made it this far into the video, then I hope you learned a lot from these tips, and I hope that they help you out in some way, shape, or form. I've been asked how to get more consistent with hitting Aries chains, and I've never really thought about until this video, but if I were to sum up my habits, it would be the 5 tips that I gave in this video. And as a sort of hidden bonus tip, just make sure you're playing with confidence. This mentality will contribute to you landing more chains than you know. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and until next time, happy chaining.